Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SPReacts, where today we've got ourselves a track from an act named Queen FireFlies titled Presence of His Greatness. And if we switch over to here, we've got ourselves a track on Spotify here. We've got the art up on the screen there. Apparently this is a female R&B and hip hop group that focuses on writing music to empower men and women to learn to value and appreciate each other through self-improvement, as well as spirituality and king and queen dynamics, through an honor code based on unity, accountability, growth, and love. So we're going to listen through this track from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it.
Like a temple that's been kissed by prophets. No tension, no trauma, just bliss in the tropics. I submit and it shifts my posture into his mystic goddess with infinite solace. Kneeling submissive with honor. My king has gift and knowledge. Cleanse my trauma, my Jesus gift from the Father. He shifted my karma. He keep me on exotic trips with God is drip from the closet. He's my heart chakra doctor.
I like the call responses and repeats there.
He touched me, my breath is nauseous. Whispering mantras, lightheaded. I levitate when he's in my softness. I'm possessed by his mind and sausage. Obsession is constant. Lives in my moss pit. Gets daily peach massages. Reach nirvana. I'm on a mystic upper octave. Nightly listen his rocket cockpit. A gift upon it is queen to my king. All on his honor. I'm drenched before he even slips inside my garment. Suspended weightless in the presence of his greatness. He's sexually gracious. My calm face is shapeshifts. On top I feel my waist shift. My waist and hips take a lift on his heavenly spaceship. Tonight is my 8th trip. The ecstasy is sicker than the Matrix. He takes me there on a regular basis. Love struck in the presence of his greatness.
That's a nice way of rolling around to that.
He said honestly it's the sun. That's when I knew my Adonis was the one like Neo. Zion's second coming. Knew he was gonna be blessed with something. Feel his deep from my cervix button through the depth of my stomach. Catch me in the kitchen and he lifts my apron. So I stick to catering and keep the bubble glistening in latex. Twist temptations in his clutch, I'm lifted weightless. Moan shift the cadence, uttering scripted phrases. The Sanskrit of ancients on a couple of occasions. My screen's got us restricted from a few Vegas destinations. His empress of flirtation, but only for my kingless sensations. A God complex, my king blessed with that iconic monarch Spartan sex. To be honest, I'ma do this always undressed. Garden of Eden, fondness, king drowning in deep fondness, king drowning in peach tonic. Climax is a ride on a cosmic comet. Soft choke submit to his dominant conquest. Penthouse, balcony sunsets, ocean breeze, calmness, having bomb sex and bondage.
There's just a lot to absorb. There's a lot of information. I don't mind it. I feel like you need multiple listens through this to really sort of gather everything that's going on within it.
Presence of his greatness, he's sexually gracious. My calm face is shapeshifts. On top I feel my waist and hips take a lift on his heavenly spaceship. Tonight is my 8th trip. The ecstasy is sicker than the Matrix. He takes me there on a regular basis. Love struck in the presence of his greatness. I can see the divine in your eyes. It's your inside. Kings not only survive, but they thrive. Past that greatness within and shine. I recognize he was a prize. In the skies, beauty specialized. I see the light dim in their eyes. His wisdom is heavy, but presence is light. Illuminate the night, all of iridescent light. I've seen men walk, but my king stride with a heavenly glide. Like a 7-plane Christ, sent to resurrect my life. Sparkle effervescence, wine, bold, chateau spice. Shining armor night, honor in his pride. Soften the goddess with his pipe. Intoxicate my mind as if logic was a knife. A prophet in disguise. And got a goddess through her prime. Crowned in his dynasty's rise. I submissive, bonded, promise all my life. Got a queen like a sacred oracle under his Buddhist tutelage. Following his lead like an astute student with my pupils toolkit. He's like Professor X, guru of the school of mutants. Fed my soul is guru's blueprint. Tore my cave his fruit, infused it, healed my ruthless nuisance. His truth is proven, his word recruit is not fruitful fluent. He never judged the wounds I hid, gave me empress prudent movements. Removed illusions, gotta prove this union, the truest communion. I gave him my problems, he feels solutions. Notice some mood improvements, advancing queen school of newness. Our climax feels like June blooming tulips. He bathes in my soothing fluids, ooze from love's trueness. The linen peach juice when moonlit reveals the luminous residue of our love fusion. Suspended weightless in the presence of his greatness. He's sexually gracious, my calm face is shapeshift. On top I feel my waist shift, my waist and hips take a lift on his heavenly spaceship. Tonight is my 8th trip. The ecstasy is sicker than the Matrix. He takes me there on a regular basis. Love struck in the presence of his greatness. Love struck in the presence of his greatness.
You got those repeaters at the end? Nice. The hook line sort of further instantiated. We're going to talk about this track more, though, in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Queen FireFlies, titled Presence of His Greatness. In this section, I'm going to provide an overall song analysis for everything from lyrics and vocals all the way through to studio production, as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. But before we go any further, what do we think this track is about? When we talk about going for the 8th trip round, you know, and we talk about on a spaceship, and we talk about the sexual prowess and everything like that, and there's a lot of more sort of traditional sort of like comments put through it here, but a lot of it is also explicit with innuendo and sort of some wordplay and everything like that. It's clearly very much just trying to enjoy each other physically in terms of intimacy, but there's also discussion of how this kingly figure kind of appreciates her and, you know, respects her regardless of whatever wounds she's tending and stuff like that, you know, that he supports her and she wants to do things for him, etc. It seems like, again, they're just trying to understand each other better. There's like some sort of due respect that's apparently needed to be felt, like worshiping going on, etc. You know, worshiping each other as lovers or beyond that. It's an interesting song. There's a lot to absorb within it, outside of what I think the track is about, which I feel there'll be an audience for. There are different vocal styles within this. There are some parts here which are, you know, patently R&B tilted, and I like the mixture of different sort of background vocals as well as the mains there, where we explore some really interesting melodic tails. And I like the way that even when our rap sections there, we explore octaves and bounce between them, and that we know how to create compelling vocal melodies whilst also having some really charming, quite typical yet nonetheless appreciated harmonies to accent certain parts of the hook. Having individual solo perspectives in the verses is compelling as well, primarily because it makes it seem like it's from the individual perspective of the people that are involved within the track. I like it. I think that we show good hidden chest technique, you know, like we are comfortable with our range there, and we never overextend. As far as I can tell, there are some parts which are very quick, especially in the rapped moments there. And it's less that the words don't come through clearly, and it's more that there's just so much to absorb in terms of the syllable count within the cadence of some of those lines, especially when we go for that sort of machine gun aesthetic near the end in that final verse before the outro chorus. It's cool to play around with the pace of it, and it does show that, you know, we can rap. It's more just trying to sort of maintain, because we slow things down in the chorus, and that's the part you remember, but it's almost like we're trying to fit so much in that we want different listens by proxy of needing to have that through to be able to understand the context there. Maybe this is just an overwhelming set of emotions that we're feeling towards this person, therefore we feel the need to get all these words out as quickly as we do. I don't know if it's necessarily for the benefit of the listener, but nonetheless I can kind of understand that we're simply trying to apply different affectations of it, and I feel that within the box that we've made for ourselves in terms of the overall vocal performance, and again having a track at 4 minutes 40, which is quite a long track, you know, it's outside of the 2 minutes 40 sweet spot, 2 to 4 minutes should I say sweet spot, where like if it's more than 4 minutes you really need to adjust the bass line or some of the ideas within the harmonies or instrumental components in order to make things, you know, like continuously engaging, to sort of not allow things to become stale, you know, unless you have a lot of variety going on within the vocal performance that allows us to not be distracted by that. I think, you know, with the main components continuing throughout in varying layers and forms, it's well structured there. I think that we needed to have everything in there that we said. You know, I don't have issues with the amount of context. There's just a lot of it, you know, even external to the fact that some of it was a bit much to take in. We start with these vocal chops or runs there that sound very fragrant and immediately help the listener to understand what kind of music that we're coming into. I like the way the legato flow is almost as colorful as some of those guitar lines, picked parts we have outside of it. I think the chords that we highlight there are very sort of pleasant and relaxing to listen to. There's a nice sort of shimmer to those. When we move into the they're quite familiar to me types of drum tones that we have in terms of the kicks, some of the claps, the hi-hats, cymbals, etc., offering more of a hip-hopish kind of rapish kind of tonality to it and perspective there that I think does suit. As a contrast, if nothing else, to some of the ideas we have with those guitars prior. I just like the mixture, like the half-time essence. Or is it just 16ths with normal time? I'm not quite sure. But we also have some basses which are quite, like forward, and they bounce around and they pulsate and they provide a ground floor underneath for the vocalists to sing in their various ranges and meters, as well as for the guitar to kind of come in afterwards, and the bass and the drums seg together quite neatly. We also have this kind of pad or synth in the background there that is more of a mid-range resonance there for a little bit of glow and spark and magic in the piece, I assume there. It revolves around the main notes of the chord or the main song itself there. It's just sort of like ambiguous, I sense. It's something you listen to if you go deeper into it. And a lot of it comes down to where the vocals pop off or call and respond to the main leads, whether it's in the chorus or the vocals. A lot of the coloration comes from that, in the sense that outside of some basses, again, those guitars and synth pads and drums, you haven't got a lot else that's trying to sort of like over-articulate. You have woo, those kind of sounds there as accents in certain parts, such as the hook there for a bit of a switch up. And I think some of it is also the alternate kind of percussion air candy-ish components. There's some of the sounds as opposed to the traditional drum sounds or drum tones that you have there. Some clicks and other sort of automatic elements that, when come together, especially near the end with that outro section before the hook line fades us out, it's just enough to tide us over that period. I think if it was less busy with the vocals, it'd be less sort of interesting as a track. So I appreciate the balance that we have between the variety of different vocal elements and the instrumental parts behind it. I think if anything, the accompaniment is simply more for aesthetic. It's more of a focus on what the person's trying to say or what they're trying to sing about. Thematically though, it's a minor leaning key, which is an interesting choice in terms of the subject matter that we're discussing within this. It's more sort of that kind of cool kind of minor, as opposed to feeling unhappy or distressed about it. It's more like we are flying by and we're in a very comfy position and we're just kind of got a bit of swagger to ourselves as we fly through this. It's more about being fashionable rather than eliciting a mood through the chord progressions themselves. There's not a lot of extensions. There's nothing outside the diatonic there. It's a very safe composition, which is more meant to be palatable, to again be less opinionated and therefore move you towards what the person is saying. But yeah, I like some of the sounds in it regardless, tones, textures, and timbres. A lot of that comes down to the studio production, recording, mixing, and mastering, where this track facilitates both a wide array of different vocal parts, both in the center as well as inside stereo field, things going backwards and forwards and then coming together, which I like. I like when that's sort of filled out. The vocals don't sound overproduced either, which is nice. The guitars, they glitter on the side there when they're there occasionally. The bass is rotund in the low end there without being too abrasive or too forward. I mean, I said it was forward before. It's like enough without being pushed too much. The kicks and clicks and other bits of percussion candy and the cymbals, etc., with a variety of rhythms they play, are present within the stereo field as well. And then there are some synth or pad elements that kind of glide back and forth slowly or sort of maintain themselves in the ether there in a way that's not too affronting. There's dynamic range, but it's not a lot of production-based dynamic range. It's fairly tightly glued there to an extent where it sounds relatively constant a lot of the time, for better or worse. There is, within the actual arrangement though, I do like when we have those pauses. Not that I dislike listening to the vocals, but I like when there's an adjustment without the vocals there to simply appreciate the other things and then to come back at the end, I think is good. But I don't think this track would have benefited from alternate leads or solo sections or anything like that. I think it knew what it wanted to achieve, and I feel like it did that. Nice and loud bus compression limiting is handled. No real applicable constructive critique for me. I understand what it's trying to accomplish as an isolated concept, and I think that it does it well. From a general listener's perspective, a final general listener's perspective, I haven't really listened to a story like this before in a song, and I appreciate that. If nothing else, it's the strength of being unfiltered with the approach you want to have with the concepts you want to discuss. I've got no issues with people enjoying themselves in the variety of ways expressed within this. And I wish everyone involved all the best in future with their musical endeavors. Because thank you for watching my review of this track from an act named Queen FireFlies, titled Presence of His Greatness. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need to help more than ever. Thought of crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.